You know, some people seem to have an advanced degree in whining. In fact, they've made an art of the practice of whining. January Jones is here with her latest book, Thou Shalt Not Whine, what we whine about, why we do it, and how to stop it. She calls it the 11th Commandment. Welcome, January Jones.
Thank you.
It's great to have you with us today.
Yeah.
You did quite a bit of research, and you came up with actually the top TV whiners and celebrity whiners. Who are some of these people?
Well, actually, from my survey, Regis Philbin was voted the king of whiners, and of course, Joan Rivers was the queen.
Yes.
And they both have been around a long time, and they're really good at whining, and they do it, it's part of their gig.
Yeah.
And they're professional complainers, and they do it with humor, and people enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, you know, Regis has always got something to complain about.
He does.
Yeah.
Something to throw in there.
Right.
You actually did do some research in order to get some of your information. How did you go about that, and what did you find?
I put out a survey, and I started out in a small way, and then it kind of took on a life of its own. I surveyed all ages and all stages of life, and I asked people what they whine about, what the big complaints were, the causes, and then I asked them for cures. And I had a lot of help with this survey. One Girl Scout troop did the survey for me, which was interesting to get their take on whining. One of my friends who is a high school teacher, English, she gave it as a class assignment.
Interesting.
And so they did a little research on whining, and so I got some really fun insights into whining. I asked all my golf group and my charity group and church group, and we just passed the survey around for over a year. And people love to, and it was anonymous, so you didn't have to put your name. So if you wanted to whine about your husband, he'd never know.
We have children. You have children and grandchildren.
Right.
Children can really be whiners. What are the things that you have found as a mother, as a grandmother, regarding children and whining?
Well, the journey, I've learned quite a bit on the journey. You know, when I grew up, my mother's approach was, well, if you're going to whine, I'll give you something
to whine about.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of started out that way because we had 4 children. I had my hands full, and I started out that way. But then gradually, as I evolved and the process of raising children took its effect, and when I had my grandchildren, I realized that that's probably not the best approach. And what I've done with my grandchildren is when they're in a whining situation, I try to distract them and point out that it's probably not the best thing to do. And then I lavish them with praise. We talk about something wonderful they did. We talk about how they can help more, what they did lately, and how nice they were to their siblings. Built up their self-esteem, and guess what? They're not going to be whining. They're going to love being with you because they know you adore them, and you do.
Now, you talked about why different people whine. You classify them like into categories of whiners. Tell us a little bit about how you do that.
Well, I started out with my 1-star whine, and that's the annoying whine. That's like the whine when you're in Toys R Us or in the supermarket. Then there's the second whine, 2-star, and that's the attention-seeking whine. That's when people want your attention, they want to be noticed. And then the 3rd star is the aggravating whine. That's the one that pushes you over the deep end. That's the one that drives you crazy. There's a 4th whine, and that's an abusive whine, and that's a serious issue. I don't deal with that in my book. I deal with the lighter things.
Boy, I've heard that star 1, 2, and 3 in the grocery line when some child is just giving their mother a horrible time because they want a certain bag of cookies or whatever, and sometimes I just want to go up to that child and say, sweetheart, you need to be quiet. You're not getting the cookies. She's not buying them for you.
Stay strong, Mom.
And give the mom some encouragement. Hang in there. You're doing good.
Well, exactly, because kids know that you're vulnerable when you're in public. You know, if they're going to act up, that's definitely when they're going to do it. So you have to stay firm with them, distract them, get them going on something else.
How about for adults? How about the, now you can't do the temper tantrum in the grocery store, but what about like the covert, the stealth whiners that seem like everything's fine, but then behind them they're whine.
Well, the reality is they're out there, and it gets to a point sometimes where those are the people you're just going to have to avoid and walk away from it. They're trying to draw you into it, and sometimes they have to just go their own way, and you let go of that. In general, most people want to be happy. Most people want to be liked. They want to smile. I talk about the universal smile cure. If you're whining and I come up to you and I'm going to be silly and pleasant and smile and I'm going to have fun no matter how miserable you are, guess what? You're probably going to start being silly with me. And you're probably going to want to have more fun.
Because oftentimes the whiner wants someone to whine with them,
right.
and it validates what they're unhappy about at the moment, and it sort of brings more credence to it. And if you just don't take part in it,
right.
and again get off the subject, talk about something else,
yes.
then it sort of pours cold water on the thing that they're wanting to be upset about and whine about.
Absolutely. And I also write in my book about a thing I call the pity party. And that's something that women are particularly good at. Sometimes in life you're dealt tragedies. There's death, divorce, illness. There's a lot of things that go on in life that actually you can really whine about. You need to have one person, have your friend, get it out. You need sometimes to just talk it out. After you talk and talk, then you can put it away and go forward. That's something you can do in private with a best friend, family, or whatever. Get it out of your system, and then I call that the pity party. And they're private. You don't want to subject the world to
Right.
it. Yeah.
And so you don't take that whining and cast it upon everyone. You have a safe place where when you
Right.
need to vent.
Yes. Absolutely.
And some of us, we all need a time where we can just vent and get the frustrations out of us. But it does need to be held closely in privacy with a safe person.
And not chronic.
Yes. Oh, right. Absolutely.
Where
Discretion.
it's always.
And there's a big difference. I've also written about venting versus whining. Venting, I call it the advent of venting. You let it out, you explode, you get it out of your system. Whining is internal and it's subversive and it takes you down. It's all right to vent.
It's internal, it's subversive.
Yes.
That's
yes.
very good.
Yeah. It's all right to vent. It's all right to be upset. That's what life, you have to be honest to how you feel. And you have to be receptive to other people's issues. But you can't let it take over your life.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk about the difference between winners and whiners. And how do we distinguish between those two groups of people?
I've discovered that growing older, I think the greatest gift you can give to your children and your grandchildren is to try to grow old gracefully. And by doing so, that means that you project your image as a winner. Look at life as a can-do, will-do. I always tell them, if you think it, you can do it. And guess what? You can. And kind of encourage them not to be whiners.
You have a little reminder of that you wear. Would you show us your little...
And these, I loved it.
Yeah.
These came in your press kit attached to all your information. Tell us about that.
Actually, it's the first piece of jewelry that I've designed on my own, and I call it the Smiley Whiny pin. And I've given it to a lot of children, and when they're smiley and happy, the pin is this way. If they whine, we turn it down, and that means
it's got a frown.
they're a whiny, and no one wants to be a whiny. So when you ask a small child or an adult, are you a smiley or whiny, guess what? They want to be a smiley.
And it's a tangible reminder.
Yes.
And you have teachers use this and moms use it with their kids. That's a great little tool and instrument.
Yes, I've distributed it to Girl Scout troops and a lot of youth groups, and it's fun. It's a fun thing to wear.
And it's cute. It comes in different colors and it's got a magnetic back to it, so it doesn't.
Very easy. I brought both of you a pin, so because I know you're both winners. You're not winners. You're smileys.
We'll happily wear our pin.
Yes.
Great.
Well, January, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. Your book is called Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment. And it's really got some very practical and insightful information in this book, and it's an easy and quick read, so I encourage you to get a hold of this.
Yeah. You can go to the Family Net website, click on Every Day. We'll give you more resources with that and how to get a hold of January and to get her book as well.
January, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank
Appreciate
you. It's been
coming.
wonderful. I've loved doing it.
All right. Well, and when we come back, a quick cure for whining. Do something nice for someone else, just because. Stay with us.